number of people. Thank you very much for coming to God's house. There have been a number of political debates engaged in by our dignitaries who are here. But this is very different. Different because, number one, we are discussing in God's house, right in his temple or tabernacle here. There is a holy presence here. So everything you will say, everything you will do will be witnessed by heaven. Whatever you promise here, you'll be held to account because you are saying it as a sacrosanct utterance. We have a very huge population of Christian voters out there, and we have huge population of Muslim voters out there, religious people who believe in God. Therefore, they are going to be voting for you partly based on what you say to them, not just to this audience, but to the millions of people that will be watching via the television and the internet. So it's a very peculiar one. You could say in 2 minutes what you meant to say: security, security. Number two, the issue of taxation in Lagos State. Number three, the problem of corruption. Number four, infrastructure in Lagos State. And that's going to deal with health sector, education sector, transportation. It's going to deal with roads and potentials of infrastructural development. 5, indigenship issue in Lagos State. 6, religion and politics. And 7, local government administration in Lagos State. Each of you will be given 5 minutes to present your manifestos and present them in very articulate manner. Be very straight, practical, what you can. Don't promise what you can do, and don't attack each other. You are going to be speaking just 5 minutes and respect the timekeeper's place. And then my panelists will be taking on each of these subjects and will be asking the questions. And after that, there will be opportunity to engage with each other very briefly if time will permit us.
We are going to co-opt a lot of what you call quack, nurses, traditional medicine practitioners, chemists. We are going to train them and make them to be a sort of first aid medical personnel, where if you have malaria, you have typhoid and minor sicknesses, you can go there and receive treatment free there. Number 4, we are going to provide free internet connections throughout Lagos State. We are going to provide free internet connection throughout Lagos State. Number 6, we are going to provide regular potable water, because we believe potable water is the responsibility of Lagos. We don't have to wait for United Nations before we have potable water. And pending the time we are going to provide that, we will ensure that what was happening at Ondo State and the state at the point in time, we are going to be interpreting that we have the responsibility of supplying every street in Lagos potable water with trucks. Pending the time we can get that potable water, we are going to supply them drinkable water with trucks to be our responsibility. So when we now provide that potable water, we can now stop supplying them with trucks. Number 7, we are going to provide regular alternative electricity. We want to make sure that at least in Lagos we can achieve, if not 24 hours electricity, at least we can have 20 to 22 hours electricity. We can do it. Number 8, we are going to provide youth employment and what we call PPP.
1 more minute. That's a warning bell.
Okay, let me jump to a very important one, number 10. One of our major frontline charge is we are going to redistribute wealth from the super rich to the vulnerable and the poor. Because of time, let me quickly tell you about that. If you are having idle funds, like maybe you have 10 million somewhere, 10 billion somewhere, you have about 5 billion somewhere, we are going to give you a special tax on that, and we redirect it to the poor masses. We will get into a fund which we use for the poor masses. If you are having more than 5 If you are having more than 5 houses in your partner name, we will give you a special tax because you are rich, you are super rich, and we'll get it to a fund and redirect it to the poor masses because our policies are centered to the masses, to the poor people. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much.
Our program is based strictly on the people. And that is why the National Conscience Party have a 10-point agenda. We call it the 10 Care Program. I will list them, then I'll talk on them. The first one is about employment. 2, food. 3, housing care. 4, education. 5, health care. 6, transport care. 7, telecommunication care. 8, security care. 9, water care. And the last one, but not the least, electricity care. These are the 10 care program of the National Conscience Party. And you will see that they are in tandem with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. And all these are what people are all about. And you will see that they all run into each other. Basic problem that we have all over now is the problem of electricity. In fact, laws have been amended that gives the state the right now to generate electricity. Lagos State started it some time ago. We're going to work on it. There was one that we did, that Lagos State government did for Alausa area, but it is not too properly done. We are going to make sure that that is properly done. In fact, I told people on electricity, the first thing I'll do when we are sworn in May by the special grace of God is to stop the arbitrary billing in electricity. The state government will procure prepaid meter for every house in Lagos so that what they charge you arbitrarily will stop immediately. Water, we can give it. We are going to have mini water works all over the place. The government of Jakonde did it. Unfortunately, these mini water works are no longer around. We are going to resuscitate it and make sure that you have water. Nobody has the right to ask you to pay tenement rate when they are not giving you the right thing. Of course, transport is the basic problem in Lagos, and that's where everybody suffers. The MC just told us how he got stopped on the road getting here. We want to make Lagos traffic flow, and that means we are going to provide more infrastructure. We're going to expand on the road. We're going to make sure that the 4th mainland bridge take off. We're going to make sure that the Lagoon Front Road is properly put in place so that if you have a ring road around Lagos, traffic will flow, and we are going to bring in trams and every other thing. On earth will be free, education will be free. The tertiary education in Lagos, we have the University of Lagos. The Lagos State Polytechnic will be turned to a University of Technology, and the 2 colleges of education will become University of Education. And we're going to improve on the facilities there. I am an educational manager. We're going to provide houses for the people. Affordable houses, not affordable houses by the rich. And that means the first thing we are going to do is to carry out a state census. Last Mira in Lagos said you should come and register as a member of a citizen, a resident of Lagos. We are not going to ask you to come. We are going to go to your house. We are going to register you. That's the first thing government needs to do. Know how many people we have. Know how many of us are unemployed. Know how many of us do not have houses. Know what are those things that we lack so that we can provide for you. Thank you. Our manifesto is centered upon prosperity. Lagos has no business being poor. Lagosians have no contract with poverty. So we start with human resources. The civil service wages are atrocious, and we're going to review them root and branch. We're going to be looking specifically, first of all, at the key services: education, medical, security, and emergency services staff. We'll be upgrading their salaries to match our current realities, our current economic realities in Lagos. We'll also be looking at restoring a lot of the benefits that have been taken away from civil servants in Lagos. One of which is leave pay. We'll also be giving civil servants regular training and upgrades. The work environment for civil servants also needs to be upgraded, as well as their work infrastructure. So we'll be embarking on a massive digitization, a wholesale digitization of every civil service workflow process, from the state through to the local governments. We'll also be providing mortgages and loans, car loans, to civil servants to upgrade their lifestyle at single-digit interest rates. Housing, number 2. We'll be building 10,000 affordable housing units every year on year, for 4 years across Lagos State. But that is not enough. We have to provide an enabling environment to encourage the private sector to get into mass housing. The private sector is already in housing, but they address only the middle classes and the upper classes at the moment. We want them in mass housing, and we're going to open up new corridors across Lagos, especially in the extremities, towards the east and towards the west, with infrastructure, roads, rail. It's been done before, and it can be done again. We have a program we're calling the Lagos Integrated Regeneration Plan, which involves 8 local governments, 6 of which have been selected for their existing industrial capacity, and the remaining 2, as well as 1 of the original 6, selected for their tourism potential. What we're going to do in all these local governments is exactly what it says on the tin: regenerate. We will redesign and rebuild all their infrastructure and put in place brand new power networks. Because when God created the earth, the first thing he did was said, light be. Or as some would say, let there be light. And it's from light that plants get photosynthesis, and the animals feed on the plants, and life continues as a continuous cycle. We want to start a self-perpetuating cycle of prosperity in Lagos. And the only way to do that is to put power, electricity, in Lagos on a permanent basis. Thankfully, we already have experience of doing that at Amen Estate for the last 8 years. And we're going to do it for Lagosians by breaking the grid into mini grids. Instead of having these large unwieldy grids that we have at the moment, we will engage with the existing discos at a corporate level, meaning Lagos State is going to invest in the discos to break up the grids into local government level. In education, we're going to provide free education as well as healthcare. We're going to put 245 primary healthcare centers across all Lagos State. Every ward in Lagos State will get a healthcare center. We're going to build more schools and reduce class sizes to 20 children per class. No more than 20 children, no more than 720 children per school. We're going to train more teachers. We're going to recruit more teachers across the world, and we're going to recruit more medical staff across the world. We're going to stem brain drain in the medical sector by increasing the salaries of brand new doctors to $50,000 per annum.
7 cardinal programs. The first one is housing. The second one is education. The third one is health. The fourth one is 0 unemployment rate. The fifth one is small business administration. The sixth one is a ministry for security, law, and order. And the seventh one is Lagos Fast Rail Metro Line. Now, because I have enough time, I will not give you specifics. On housing, we all did what our Baba Alhaji Lateef Jakande started. It was the coup of 1984 that stopped it. So what we're going to do now is to go back to that. We must have vision. Lagos State is the smallest state by land in Nigeria. But Lagos State has over 22 million people. That means we will have challenges in terms of providing housing for our people. So now let me tell you what I'm going to do. In the next 4 years, what we're going to do is we will build what is called apartment homes. Because we don't have land, exactly what we're going to do is to make sure that we develop what is called housing. Papa Jakande did 3 stories. That was the vision then. We probably will go to between 5 and 10. And within our 4 years, we want to build about 500,000 housing units in Lagos State. This state can afford it and can do it. So please, don't be worried. We're going to do it for you. Now, when we do this housing, it's not going to be 20 million. It's not going to be 30 million. We're looking at something around 3 million per unit. And that will cost you 10,000 naira per month. So if you buy the house that Lagos State is building, you will pay 120,000 a year. We want families to come together so that they can raise their children. I am a product of civil servants, and I knew when I was growing up in Festac Town, my mother raised me in a 2-bedroom flat provided by the federal government. So I know what I'm talking about. We can do it. So that is my program on housing. We're providing within 8 years 1 million housing units, and we're going to sell it to Lagosians at 3 million, and you will pay 10,000 naira a month. So the second program, education. I am a product of an Anglican Methodist school, and that is that very good school called Gubernatorial College. By the time my father went to CMS Grammar School, another Anglican school. Of course, by my generation, there was synergy between government and the missionary. And those schools were taken over. And 1973, my father was on level 8. Probably was only making 200 naira. And when I entered the Gubernatorial College, because there was synergy between the Anglican and the government, was virtually free. So what we're trying to do now is to bring a subsidy. And by bringing a subsidy, we'll be able, through the church, the children of the poor will be able to have the best education they can get. Thank you very much.
We have to trace where we're coming from before we can talk about prosperity. And I will be doing justice to that within a few minutes. Number one, there can never be any prosperous city or a mega city or a state without improving on the economic stability of that city. It will interest us to know that Lagos State is generating over 35 billion per month. But unfortunately, 35 billion naira shows that Lagos is broke. Why did I say that? 80% of these 35 billion are the revenue forcefully taken from the grassroots. Talk about telemetry, talk about advert, talk about radio and TV and the rest. These are the money that are forcefully collected from the grassroots. And that's why what we have presently now is more or less a local government that is not in existence. British government deliberately refused to recognize state. Rather, they recognize local government because that's the government that is the closest to every individual. And until we return this back to the local government, the poverty will continue, regardless of whatever the state government is doing. Now, my party will realize that there's need for us to bring prosperity back to the states. And we have what we call the blue economy. We're expecting Lagos State to generate a minimum of 100 billion per month. And that's going to be our starting point. And how are we going to achieve this? For people that we find it difficult to think outside the box, they'll be like, wow, where are we going to get 100 billion a month? This poor Lagos. I need to tell you, Lagos is rich. We have a lot of potential that ordinarily states supposed to be targeting, rather than targeting local government revenue. But when government cannot think outside the box, they will look for their available resources to make their own shortfalls. We want to develop our blue economy. We want to develop our green economy. We want to develop our education economy. We want to develop our entertainment economy. We want to develop our tourism economy. We want to develop our sport economy. We want to ensure that we have security. Without security, no matter how much effort you put in place, direct foreign investors will never come. And indigenous will move out of the country and the state. We need to improve on our health. We need to talk about housing for the average Lagosian. Unfortunately, Lagos is yet to move out of the slump arena to modern mega city. And with my discussion, you realize where we are in Lagos, and it's very pathetic. We are coming on board with what we call e-government. Government must be smart. If government is not smart, we are going nowhere. We are coming with e-government. Let me start with the economy and how we're going to take Lagos out of this poverty level. We're looking at the blue economy. What is blue economy? Blue economy is the abundant potential within the corridor of aquatic splendor. We are surrounded with water without even knowing the value and the potentials therein. And that's why we are lacking behind. What is lighter terminal? We're talking about congested Apapa Port. And the solution is lighter terminal. Pardon me, let me quickly rush. Maybe in the course of question. Yeah, the green economy is the aquatic splendor within the corridor of our agricultural potential. Poultry, animal husbandry, name it. The potential animals. Then the entertainment. We need to build entertainment industry, just like China, India, and the rest of the world. Then we need to improve on our tourism. We have abundance. Then the transportation. If we have holistic intermodal transportation system, definitely our MC would have been here by 8:30 latest. Then security. I'm a security expert. Already I have a policy I call IRC, Instant Range on Crime. Because we are bringing back nightlife in Lagos. And we must have adequate security to drive nightlife. Then the health, the PHC will drive the health sector, not immunization center.
Thank you.
During the course of the day, we'll talk about the rest. Thank you.
Thank you.
The challenges of a mega city are that people are coming in very large numbers every day. And when they come in, you have to provide for them. You have issues of where they're going to stay. If you do not have where they're going to stay, then you are creating slums. They are going to be generating waste. You must be able to clear the waste. They are adding to the traffic situation. You must be able to attend to the traffic, and so on and so forth. And therefore, it means that if you want to govern Lagos, which is a mega city, it's not like all these other states that we have, you must be growing in leaps and bounds to address those challenges. And so we have agreed that we will put our manifesto on 3 legs, on a tripod, which is, as we call, livability, on the economy and on the future. And very briefly, what I'm saying on livability is, what is the quality of life of you as a Lagosian today? Can you say you are living well? These are some of the questions that we have to address, that we must make sure that you're able to say that your life, the quality of your life is better. So if Mr. Bantefa comes in and spends 3 hours to get here, there are many people who do that every day. They stay in Ikorodu and other parts of Lagos and work in Lagos. It takes them 3 hours to get to work. It takes 3 hours to get back home. That translates to 2 months every year of their lives that they are spending on the road. 2 months out of 12. So that is the kind of way you want to look at the quality of life. You talk about the economy. How much am I making? Is it a take-home pay? Does it take care of the needs of my family? This is the way you address how you want to govern the people. And of course, the last one on the future is, do I see a future for myself? Do I see a future for my children? If I see a future for them, do the children, if I see a future for themselves in Lagos? And those are the challenges. And I just quickly go very briefly into it. And we say, well, in terms of livability, which is the first one, the quality of life, we talk about the issues of education. All of us here have friends and family members that cannot get a job. But it's not that they can't even get a job. It's that when they give you their CVs or what they have qualified in, you know that they are not even employable. That means that there is already a problem, that we're turning out children that cannot be employed. And so we have to address education properly. And we're saying that the first way to go about it is that our primary education is something we have not concentrated on in Lagos, at least for Lagos, let me speak for Lagos. And that we must start there, that the foundation must be right. And we're saying that the world of today and tomorrow is a knowledge world. It's about technology. Our children that don't have access to internet cannot, when they are 18, begin to learn about the internet. In the world that they are competing with today, those children have started coding at preschool level. And so you must provide internet, not as a perk, not as if you are giving them a gift, but as a right. And we're saying that we must have internet in our schools immediately we get into government. That every child, every school must have internet, not as a perk, but as a right. We go on to health, we go on to power, we go on to traffic. Again, these are issues. We go on to waste. Waste should not be seen as a problem in a mega city. The way waste is addressed in other mega cities is that it is seen as a resource, because in reality, every waste can be used. The waste we generate in Lagos is equivalent to 400 trailer loads every day, and we're putting them in the landfill. It can no longer. Where are we going to put all this waste? You must be able to recover, to reuse, to recycle. So in terms of the economy, we need to diversify our economy. We talked about Asian economy. We talked about the education economy. We need to look at how we're going to diversify the economy. Of course, then we look at the future. Our children must believe in the future. And that is where government comes in. We talk about entrepreneurial governance. That's where the civil service comes in. That we need to have a trained civil service, a very motivated service that looks at itself as a facilitator rather than a participant in bringing about opportunities for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.